Merry Christmas on this third day of the Christmas season. And I hope that this season has been merry for you. I hope it's been positive. I hope that you found some peace in it and some joy. However, I know for some of you that may or may not have been the case. So just know that you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved for the gift you already are. And you can keep saying that to yourself or replaying this portion of the message, maybe until you could start to believe it about yourself. So for the coming year, many of you are beginning to zero in on some things that you're going to resolve to do, some resolutions for the new year. Now, the overachievers may already have their list. And for the rest of us, those resolutions may not come at all. Several years ago, I determined that I was no longer going to make resolutions in the new year's. I might declare an intention for the year, but I wasn't going to resolve to do anything. Because what often happened for me is that sometimes I would miss the point. And let me say a little bit about that. For a number of years, I can remember very clearly resolving, the top of my list, to no longer procrastinate, put things off until the last minute, to no longer procrastinate. And that sounds like a really good resolution, a really good plan, except the problem is procrastination is a symptom of something that runs much deeper. So just changing the outward behavior does not change the cause from which the behavior grows. It merely intends to change an outward symptom, a behavior that grows from something deeper. So what I began to do instead of making a resolution about that, I began to look at some outward behaviors that would normally be the point of a resolution. And I began to examine, and for several years in my life, 10 or 12, I examined those with a therapist. But examining what might be the underlying reason for that particular behavior. Strangely enough, procrastination for me, and maybe for many, grew out of my fear of failure. And because I didn't like to fail, and because I was afraid to fail, I began to develop a perfectionist attitude that only if I were perfect, only if the product I was producing was perfect, would I be good enough. And so because perfection is unattainable in the products of our life, for you Wesleyans, John Wesley did indeed believe we could go on to perfection in love in this life, but it wasn't sinless perfection, etc. We won't go there. The truth is, setting myself up for failure with my own perfectionism, the desire for perfection. So the way I safeguarded myself was putting off until the very last moment doing the thing that I wanted perfect, and then I had an excuse for whatever the thing was not being perfect. So procrastination for me grew out of my fear of failure and my sense of perfectionism because I had challenges with my own understanding of my self-worth, of my value. So can you see how setting a resolution just to stop procrastinating really doesn't change what's causing the procrastination to begin with? And if I'm being really honest, each time that I set that resolution to procrastinate, maybe 2 or 3 weeks of not procrastinating may or may not have been the behavior that I chose. But I always fell back in the pattern. And then I was compounded in my challenges, in my fear of failure and my irritation with the challenges with my own self-image. I was challenged by that. Why? Because I had failed again. I had set a plan, a resolution to put aside that behavior, and I didn't put it aside. So not only did I have the perfectionism problem, the procrastination problem, the self-valuing problem, but now I had failed yet again. I had set myself up to fail, which just reinforced the underlying challenge to why I procrastinate. So I would encourage you, as you look at perhaps making resolutions for the coming year, that you ask yourself, first of all, what are the behaviors that are going to be what you want to change? I know I've resolved to lose weight before. I've resolved to get in better physical shape before. Well, and the procrastination one I've already told you about. What though, changing a behavior, what is the underlying issue below that behavior that needs to change before that behavior will change? Do I eat as a way of comforting myself in my sadness and pain? Well, then I need to get to that sadness and pain and deal with the sadness of pain and the need to self-comfort with the food. Now, I'm not saying that that's the whole bottom line for everybody who struggles with food or with the other kinds of addictions or with perfectionism or procrastination or any of those things. I'm simply saying for you, the behavior you want to change is often a symptom of something deeper. And perhaps this year, as you think about setting resolutions, you might give yourself permission to ask what causes the behavior, the outward behavior that you want to change. What's below that? And maybe your resolution would be to really try to dig in there deeper. And maybe the digging in deeper is going to require you to do something like see a counselor or a therapist, make an appointment to see someone who cares about you, or who can care about you and help you professionally, or get together with a friend, someone you trust, a really trusted close friend, and say, listen, this is a behavior in my life that I would really like to change. And what do you see in my life that you think might be underlying that reality? Because oftentimes to get to the bottom, we need some help. To get past the symptomatic behaviors outwardly, we need some help. Why do I need to judge everybody else? Well, maybe because I'm so busy judging myself. If I don't feel worthwhile, then judging somebody else allows me to feel at least temporarily better about me because I feel bad about them. That might be more worthwhile than just setting a group of behavioral list. I'm not saying don't set some resolutions for the next year. I'm not saying that sometimes they aren't really wonderfully helpful. But I also don't want you to set yourself up for failure, which is another reason to knock yourself. I would rather you instead pick something that you could get to the bottom of, or at least begin to work to get to the bottom of within yourself, that makes you think you're anything less than someone who is loved, that anything less than love gets to name you in this life, because that's the absolute truth. So remember, you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved, and I hope whatever you choose to do about your resolutions for the coming year, that you will know how loved and precious you already are, what a gift you are. And until the next time, perhaps until the next year, I wish you the very best. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas on this third day of Christmas. May you find peace, joy, but most of all, may you find love. It's already within you.